Hi, it's Tom with Heritage Electrical. In this video I want to talk you through a call out that we had which came about through one of our other YouTube Heatmiser explainer videos. So you can see it's a very large property that's had underfloor heating installed in the ground floor, and all of the underfloor heating loops come back to a cupboard, which we'll have a look at in a second, back to two manifolds, and each manifold had a UH8 Heatmiser hub controlling them. And basically this all just needed setting up. Whoever's installed the underfloor heating wasn't familiar with the Heatmiser gear, and so the customers asked us to come in and just work out what's going on really. So we had some drawings to go off, but the first piece of the puzzle was just making sure that, because the manifolds weren't labelled up, we had to work out that the loops on the diagram were the loops that were coming back to the right place on the manifold. The plumber had then provided a number of wireless Neostat Heatmiser room thermostats, and so we had to pair those up with the UH8 RF wiring centre. So because they are wireless stat and it's the wireless version of the wiring centre, you don't need physical connections between each room stat and the wiring centre. So we had to do a little bit of rejiggling there because the plumber had, in certain cases, presumed that you could use a single thermostat to control 2 or 3 loops in different areas of the house, so sort of adjacent rooms. We had to actually add some thermostats to this setup to separate further the heating loops. Otherwise, if one room's quicker to get up to temperature, the stat becomes satisfied, and therefore another loop being controlled by the same stat might never get up to temperature, depending on where you place this stat that's controlling multiple loops. So yeah, we divvied up the loops using further stats. I'm just going to let Paul show you a little bit of the work that he's been doing in this heating cupboard.
So electric, 2 12 kilowatt electric water heaters. Going to be controlling this underfloor heating system. I've been called out here because the plumber and multiple electricians don't know how to connect this system and get it functioning. So this is how we found it. Cable's not long enough to reach to the right units. Nothing labelled up properly. None of the pipe work labelled up properly by the plumber. These units not fitted to the wall properly. Wrong amount of thermostats for the unit the plumber's provided. So this is the progress we're making now on what it should look like. So all the cables are going in the right order from the manifold, from left to right, keeping it as neat as possible. And you can see we've identified some of these loops now, so I've labelled them up. 2 dining room, 2 hall, 4 kitchen, 1 utility, zones 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the identification's better, everybody knows what everything is, and we can connect the correct thermostat up for the correct zone then as we mount. And then we're currently mounting all the thermostats around the house. So this is just a very bad job by an electrician and by organisation by a plumber. Really should be a lot better than this. Basic insulation on show outside of isolators.
Now unfortunately, during the diagnostic work that we carried out, it was evident that whoever had attempted to get this working previously had connected up a 230 volt output, one of the 230 volt outputs on the UH8 wiring centre, to the programmer controls on the electric boiler. So not only had he managed to short out and blow a hole in one of the UH8s, but also completely fried one of the boilers, which therefore both units required replacement. Now, in addition to that, let's just take a look at, unfortunately, some of the other work that we came across while we were carrying out this heating control work. So if we have a look at the three-phase board itself, the actual breakers were loose on the buzz bar. You can see there's one that's very obviously loose here. So we went round and we checked all those connections. Now, in the manufacturer's instructions for the installation of the boiler, it stated that you needed to have a blank either side of, in this case, the RCBO, which is supplying the boiler, to allow heat to dissipate because they're such a high load device. So that wasn't observed in this case. So you can see the wiring is generally very untidy in the board. You can see that the army cable supplying the three-phase board has not been glanded in correctly. The steel wire armour hasn't been earthed, and a compression gland has been used as opposed to a proper SWA gland. None of the cables were really supported as per the on-site guide, no clipping distances or anything like that. Now if we have a look at the isolators with the red switch on them, 12 kilowatts comes to in excess of 50 amps worth of current that these boilers could potentially be pulling. Now these are like cooker isolators rated at 45 amps, so they really needed to be something that was better rated, you know, more appropriately rated to handle this load, like a rotary isolator or something like that. Now again, if we take a look at the boiler's instructions, it states that the supply between the isolator and the boiler itself needs to be in heat resistant flex. And you can see the installer has used just standard twin and earth, and you can see it's sort of looped behind heating pipes as well, so there's an opportunity there for heat to build up and potentially damage the cable, or I suppose in extreme cases even cause a fire. And other than that, the workmanship that's gone into mounting those isolators, you can see you pretty much get a finger in where the knockout has been used on that surface back box. So the boilers themselves are not particularly solidly mounted to the wall. You can see we're giving that a good wobble there. So that really needs to be fixed back a little better. And then some of the other work in this cupboard, you could see that is a live socket without an enclosure on it, with clear access to live terminals. So that's exceedingly dangerous. If someone walks in and catches that cable, and that same there, you can see no enclosure on the back of that, live connections. If someone gets tangled up in those wires and pulls the socket down straight onto their head, they're going to get a shock. So in summary, we managed to identify each heating loop. We wired up the actuators correctly with the UH8 wiring centres. We needed to replace one of those. We had a spare one with us. We needed to get the customer to order another boiler. We paired all the thermostats and we proved that everything was working with regards to the underfloor heating installation correctly. As always, please don't hesitate to drop us a line if you need help with your heating or any other part of your electric installation. You'll find contact details on our website below.